Welcome back to part 2 of our long series where we rank every episode of Doctor Who starting by season. Today we are on part 2, which means series 2 of Doctor Who, the second season of the revived series of Doctor Who since its 2005 revival. This, of course, aired in 2006, starring David Tennant as the 10th Doctor in his first season, Rose Tyler in her second and final full season as the companion in Doctor Who. But today, like I said, we're going to go through all 13 episodes of season 2, including an extra episode, the Christmas Invasion, which of course is the 2005 Christmas special. Not specifically a part of season 2, but definitely correlates with the overall feel of the series, the overall plot of the series, and makes way more sense to link that with the following series, season 2, than season 1, because the Doctors are played by different actors, of course. So let's start from bottom to top, just like we did in the first episode. We're going to start way at the bottom, and in 14th place is Fear Her. Now, I know a lot of people think Love and Monsters is the worst episode of Doctor Who, and it's pretty bad. However, one thing that Fear Her has going for it, worse than Love and Monsters, is Fear Her is not enjoyable in an ironic way. I don't get anything out of Fear Her. The acting is horrendous, not just from the child actress. I don't want to just throw all of the problems with the episode on the child actress in this episode. The entire cast is just not really driven to do anything. Rose is not at her best. The Doctor's not necessarily at his best. All of the supporting characters are fairly poorly acted, fairly poorly performed, poorly written. There's a lot of concepts in this episode that could have been done way better if they were written in a completely different way, such as the abusive father coming back in the form of an animated monster. Just this whole plot doesn't really hold itself up well. This idea that a child is drawing the things around her and trapping people in those drawings, and it's this pseudoscience magic type idea that Doctor Who plays with quite a bit, and this is just not done in a very good way. So essentially, this child has the magic power to capture people she wants to keep with her forever, because it's not a very good episode, and it falls really flat on its face, and the end is really campy and cheesy and not in a fun way, and there's just a lot of problems with this episode in general, and like I said, I can't enjoy it in an ironic way. So it's going bottom of F tier. It's my second least favorite Doctor Who episode of all time. My fifth least favorite Doctor Who episode of all time is, of course, Love and Monsters. Now, there's only so much defense I can do of this episode from an ironic sense. The episode is just boring. Like it's just not good. So I love it in an ironic sense. I do that a lot. I'm kind of I like being a contrarian. So I like taking popular opinions and seeing if I can spin them. And this episode does have its moments. The stuff between Elton and Jackie is good. Some of the stuff with Linda is good. But the villain is poor. Peter Kay is kind of wasted in it and doesn't do a very good job with the stuff that he's given. Elton isn't that likable as a protagonist, in my opinion. Shirley Henderson has done way better. See her in Harry Potter, for an example, and know that this episode doesn't feel like a Doctor Who episode, and I understand that's kind of the point, but it just really doesn't, like, as much as it correlates with Doctor Who and is wrapped up in the universe of Doctor Who, it feels like you're watching an entirely different show, and not in a fun way, not in a cool way. It just, like Fear Her, this one falls flat on its face, but I can love it in an ironic sense. It's just so over the top and so stupid that I do find some enjoyment out of it. So that is right above that in F tier, and I'm taking a look at my overall list, and I believe those are the only two staying in F tier. So we move now up to D tier, and we will go with The Idiot's Lantern. So The Idiot's Lantern feels in many ways similar to Fear Her, right? But instead of the Doctor being trapped by this alien villain, instead this is Rose. Rose and the Doctor, their chemistry is actually fun in this episode, but they're very much not doing their usual job the way they should be. They're almost having a little too much fun with it, knowing that things are ending soon. This is the episode where people say like the boyfriend girlfriend dynamic is a little too close to home. The villain isn't great. The idea is great. I would love a return of the Wire if it can be written better, but the performance isn't spectacular. The side characters are a little too campy for my liking, a little too over the top. I'm talking about Mr. Oh gosh, I just rewatched the series and I'm trying to remember what the dad's name is in the family, and I can't off the top of my head. But his performance is just a little too over the top for my liking. But it, like I said, it feels very similar world-wise. You know, you have this big event coming up. It takes place in a city street. That's kind of, it almost recycles the same plot as Fear Her. Now, it did come out before Fear Her, a few weeks before, and so you could argue that Fear Her recycles elements from The Idiot's Lantern, but they feel like very similar episodes to me, and it's just not quite as bad as Fear Her, and I don't think it's bad enough to be an F tier, but it does bore me to death. I think some of the family dynamics, like the whole idea of family should remain important despite the faults of your family, if there's a way that you can make reconciliation. I think that's a unique message, but they didn't really deliver on it. That being said, I think it stays pretty solid at the bottom of D tier there. Let's move up now then to C tier, and we are going all the way up to Rise of Cybermen and the Age of Steel. Now, a lot of people like this episode, and a lot of people like the portrayal of the Cybermen in the modern world, being this kind of, we upgraded ourselves because that's what people do in the modern world kind of thing. I don't love that as much, but my problems with this episode come less from the portrayal of the Cybermen, which I do have issues. They're just kind of this brute force. There's nothing really inherently scary about them. They're just this big army. My problems with this episode, I'm really not a Roger Lloyd Pack fan. And I know he's deceased, and I know it's a shame to, hammer my opinions on someone who can no longer defend themselves, obviously. But I don't like him in these two episodes. I don't like him in Harry Potter. Like, I'm not a fan of Roger Lloyd Pack as an actor, his acting style. He's way too over the top, even for him. Like, he's a very over the top actor, and even in this role, it's just like, I don't love it. I don't love his character. I don't love his character's motivations. All of this stuff with Pete Tyler and this alternate world idea, I think, is really cool. And that's why, in my opinion, I think the first half of it, Rise of Cybermen, is actually better than Age of Steel. I don't like the second half of this two-parter as much as the first. They are kind of near each other in quality, and so I'll keep them together. But I just don't love this episode. I love this. Cybermen are one of my favorite villains in Doctor Who. I think they might be my favorite recurring villain, and I don't love these episodes. I think something like Army of Ghosts and Doomsday does a way better job of portraying the Cybermen in the way that they should be. And these episodes just fall flat for me, and I haven't been able to pinpoint exactly what it is. But anyways, they will sit bottom of C tier there. Moving up now to the B tier, and we are going all the way up to New Earth. So New Earth is fun. It improves on the end of the world from season 1, series 1. We get the return of Cassandra. We get the fun side character of Chip. We get a lot of fun elements with the Cassandra's mind being in the Doctor, and David Tennant and Billie Piper getting to act as completely new characters, which is really fun. I think the Deus Ex Machina at the end is a little lazy, but I like the world building. I like this idea that there is a new Earth. I like the cat people. I like the nurses. I like the I like the side characters. I think the side characters are really fun. I think there's a lot of fun going on in this episode. It's just not super concrete for me. Like I said, the writing's a little lazy at times. The chemistry between David Tennant and Billie Piper is really fun, especially in their twisted roles. And I think the ending is great. I think the ending with Chip sacrificing himself for Lady Cassandra and then Lady Cassandra dying in the body of Chip, accepting death in front of her former self, and that being the last time anyone called her beautiful is a really cool, like, timey-wimey twist. So I think New Earth sits fine at the bottom of B tier there. Moving up now to the Christmas Invasion. Now, a lot of people love the Christmas Invasion. I didn't like it the first time I watched it, and I actually liked it a bit more on my most recent rewatch. It's got some cool elements tying into just the UK's space travel that was going on in 2005, 2006 when this aired. It tells a good second story of Harriet Jones. And if you don't watch the ending, which I think I really missed the first time, I didn't quite get how the Doctor had caused Harriet Jones' downfall. That is a cool element, if not just a little too subtle for people like me who aren't quite paying attention. It is a cool element. I think the Sycorax are a cool designed visual villain. I think David Tennant does well in his final couple scenes. I think he's a little campy at first. I don't like the fighting hand line. It bums me out that he's kind of put out of commission for most of this episode, which is fine. It does a lot to build Jackie, Mickey, and Rose. It does a lot to develop the alien subplot with the people going to the tops of buildings and being mind controlled, that sort of thing. And it allows us to kind of come to terms with this new Doctor, which is fine, but I just wish we had a little more David Tennant in this episode. It is good. It's a great start to what would be an ongoing series of Christmas specials, and then, of course, they stopped and became New Year's specials during the Chris Chibnall era, and now, with Russell T Davies being back, we are back to Christmas specials. But I think this is solid, right in the middle of B tier. It's not bad. It's above average for me, but it doesn't go that extra mile for me. It's a little too slow. It's a little too campy for my liking. So I think it sits perfect right there in the middle of B tier. We move up just a hair to now Tooth and Claw. Tooth and Claw kind of feels, if you watched my Series 1 episode where I talked about how I don't really love the feel of The Unquiet Dead. There's just something about it that I don't love. This episode takes those atmospheric elements of The Unquiet Dead, where it's kind of a horror. It's kind of this I almost said gothic. It's not gothic, but it's more like this Victorian kind of horror, almost a home invasion style horror in this one. And they do it a lot better. They do it a lot better than The Unquiet Dead, in my opinion. I like the portrayal of Queen Victoria. I like the performances of the side characters. Despite the fact I can't necessarily remember their names off the top of my head, I think the performances in this episode are great. I think the tension in the episode is very well done. I don't have a ton negative to say about this episode. It just isn't like top tier television. Rose is having a little too much fun with herself in this episode. Her chemistry with David Tennant continues to be great. It's great, especially the first half of Series 2. But it just lacks that extra oomph to push it to the next level. And so I think it sits pretty solid at the top of B tier there. Then we move all the way up to A tier. Very bottom of A tier in my list is going to be The Impossible Planet and The Satan Pit. Now, I loved this episode the first time I watched it. It's just got this atmosphere to it that's really, really special. I think the whole Satan idea is a really grand idea, like big scale idea, and it's done very well, especially at first. I think it falls a little flat at the end. I think this idea of the devil's soul or the devil's essence being removed from the body and the body just being this beast shell, I think this would have been a better episode had they not actually shown Satan. You know what I mean? Like this episode, I think would have held, these two episodes would have held up better, especially the second half, if it were just like this spirit of evil, this essence of Satan rather than the body itself. I don't think we needed to see that on screen, and I think it takes a little bit away from the episode. But like I said, the atmosphere of this episode is phenomenal. The performances. We were introduced to the Ood in this episode, which is always something I forget. They come into this episode, and they're really funny. In an unnerving way. It's very, very well done horror comedy. The scene that I'm thinking of specifically is where Rose is getting food from the Ood. They're serving her. Well, first of all, let's back up. So the first horror element of this episode is when they meet the Ood and they say, "We must feed, we must feed." And then it cuts to the title sequence and we cut back and then, "We must feed you." Which I think is a cool element, but the one that really gets me every time I watch the first half of this episode is when Rose is going through the line and the Ood is feeding her, and it says something along the lines of, the beast will rise up from the pit and devour us all, something, and send us straight to hell. And he says it so just straightforward, and there's no build up to it, and it's just Rose is as shocked as the audience is. And every time I watch that, I just vocalize, like literally laugh out loud because I'm so taken aback by the line every single time. It does horror comedy really well. It does atmosphere really well. I love these episodes. I think they're super underrated. And like I said, I just, it's lacking that extra thing to put it top of A tier or even S tier. But for episodes that you might not think as memorable, like it kind of falls on the wayside of all of these series 2 episodes. We still have 4 more episodes above this 2-parter. I think it holds its own and does really well. Super underrated. I think it deserves A tier. We move just slightly up then to School Reunion. Now, School Reunion, I personally don't like. How do I say this? I don't necessarily like it as much as the Impossible Planet, but it has a lot of good things going for it. I think the return of Sarah Jane is handled super well. I think the dynamic between her and Rose, I think the chemistry between the entire main group, even Mickey included, is really well done. Things I don't necessarily love about this episode, I think the villains are a little one note, but I think you can ignore all that simply because it does wonders for the mythos of Doctor Who. It includes this old Who character into new Who canon, really just embraces the fact that this is the same show. This is the same character. This is a continuation of that show that people loved in the 60s through 80s, and then some people even liked in the 90s. And we're bringing that back, and it's the same show. It's the same atmosphere, and I think it's done super, super well. So A tier for me. Then above that, I'm putting Army of Ghosts and Doomsday. Of course, just because of that ending. I mean, it is a spectacular ending. And the music, oh my gosh, when that bass line comes in on the Doomsday track, I think it's one of the best musical moments Murray Gold has in the Russell T Davies era. I think that Doomsday song is beautiful and just accentuates the angst and the disappointment, and it's gone now. Like that thing we loved, the relationship that we loved is gone now. The Doctor has to move on. I think is done really well. I like the build-up in Army of Ghosts, but Army of Ghosts is more of a setup episode, and we see this a lot in finale 2-parters where it just lacks that gravitas that the actual finale episode has. And so that's why, for me, Doomsday is above Army of Ghosts. But I think this is one of the best finale 2-parters in Doctor Who. I think the chemistry between the two sets of villains is phenomenal. I think the Cybermen are very well built in this episode in comparison to Army of Ghosts Rise of the Cybermen, Age of Steel. I think the Daleks are fun. The Cult of Skaro is fun. The chemistry that the villains have against each other is really fun. And we see the Daleks being comedic for the first time, and not in a bad way. It's very well done. I think this is a phenomenal 2-parter. Top of A tier. It's just lacking that slight extra edge to push it into S tier. I only have 12 episodes of Doctor Who in my S tier category. And the one from season 2 that is up there for me is Stephen Moffat's The Girl in the Fireplace. This episode is really melancholic from the beginning, and that has to do with the soundtrack. Murray Gold does a really good job with the soundtrack. However, for me in this episode, especially everything to do with the on-Earth scenes, the soundtrack is a little one note. It's all kind of the same to me, but it does add to that atmosphere of impending dread and sadness and just this beautiful, simple, not even romantic. It is romantic, but you could look at this episode and see the relationship between René de Poisson and the Doctor and not see it as romantic, and see it as more of this is a lifelong friendship that this woman has had at the same time that the Doctor has only been a part of this for a few hours. And I think it's really beautiful. I think it's a well-contained story. I don't think there's any loose plot threads whatsoever. I think it shows tension in the relationship with the Doctor and Rose and really helps push their relationship into the next half of the season. I think everything about this episode is really well done, really well constructed. The set design is phenomenal. The writing's phenomenal. I love The Girl in the Fireplace, especially for Series 2. Definitely top of Series 2. So, including the Christmas Invasion, these 14 episodes from bottom to top in F tier. Number 14 is Fear Her. Number 13 is Love and Monsters. We move up to D tier. Only episode I have in D tier is number 12, and that is The Idiot's Lantern. Number 11, C tier, we go to Rise of the Cybermen. And then above that, number 10, Age of Steel. We go to B tier. Number 9, New Earth. Number 8, The Christmas Invasion. Number 7, Tooth and Claw. Moving up to A tier. Number 6, The Satan Pit. Number 5, The Impossible Astronaut, Series 6. No, Impossible Planet, excuse me. Number 4, School Reunion. Number 3, Army of Ghosts. Number 2, top of A tier, Doomsday. And then top in S tier, number 1, my favorite episode, the best episode in my opinion, in Series 2 is The Girl in the Fireplace. We'll return here tomorrow. We're doing these 2 weeks of Doctor Who. Tomorrow we're doing Series 3, this exact same thing. And then, of course, at the end, we will rank all of the seasons of New Who and all of the episodes together. So if you're interested in that, there is more Doctor Who content over my left shoulder, your bottom right-hand side, and other links to episodes on this channel are above my head. Click on the Sheet G logo there, and we will go forth and check out more Doctor Who tomorrow. Until then, hopefully we see you very, very soon.